Millions of years ago, during the Cretaceous period, North America and Africa were vast wetlands, where rivers, lakes, and shallow seas created a world filled with gigantic creatures. When we think of the most terrifying predators of that time, most of us immediately picture Tyrannosaurus rex, a monster over 40 feet long, weighing up to about 20,000 pounds, with the most powerful bite force in the dinosaur world. But today, I want to tell you a very fascinating truth. The largest carnivorous animal to live during the late stage of the Mesozoic was not actually a dinosaur. In fact, some creatures outside the dinosaur family were powerful enough to make even the fiercest theropods think twice. And that formidable predator was a gigantic crocodilian called Deinosuchus, also known as the terrible crocodile. Going back 82 million years in time to what is now North America, this horror began to emerge with the first fossilized teeth discovered in 1850. That creature was Deinosuchus, a name that means terrible crocodile. This species was first discovered from enormous fossilized teeth. It took scientists many decades to determine that it was a giant crocodilian, closely related to modern alligators. However, it was completely different from today's alligators or crocodiles, both in size and in power. Position on the phylogenetic tree, an independent evolutionary branch. The inclusion of Deinosuchus in the Alligatoroidea group, which includes modern alligators, suggests a closer relationship to the American alligator than to the Nile crocodile. However, instead of lying on a straight line leading to modern species, Deinosuchus represents an ambitious, sideways branch. While the ancestors of modern crocodiles chose to shrink in size for easier adaptation and concealment, Deinosuchus evolved in the direction of gigantism to confront the largest creatures of the Cretaceous period. The anatomical differences reinforce the hypothesis that this was a distinct evolutionary experiment. It existed in parallel with, but did not directly pass on to, modern crocodile species. In other words, Deinosuchus was a pinnacle of past evolution that ended with the age of dinosaurs, leaving a void that no modern crocodile has been able to fill. In terms of size, Deinosuchus was truly astonishing. Average individuals were about 26 to 33 feet long and weighed roughly 5,500 to 11,000 pounds. But the largest specimens, especially those from western North America, could reach lengths of up to 35 feet, and some estimates suggest they may have weighed as much as 17,500 pounds. To help you picture that, an adult T-Rex was usually over 40 feet long and weighed around 15,000 to 20,000 pounds. This means the largest Deinosuchus was nearly comparable in length, but with a lower, broader, more heavily built body and an especially powerful head. The skull of the largest individuals was nearly 5.5 feet long. Its teeth were massive, and the back teeth were short and blunt, designed for crushing bone rather than simply tearing flesh. Salt tolerance, the secret to success. Salt tolerance is considered the secret weapon that helped Deinosuchus surpass other crocodiles of its time. This secret lies in the salt glands, a specialized biological structure that helps them efficiently eliminate excess salt from their bodies. While most ancient crocodiles were confined to fresh water, Deinosuchus could freely swim through salt water and estuaries. This biological advantage transformed the Western Interior Seaway into a dedicated highway for them. Deinosuchus easily expanded its territory from the west coast to the east coast of North America. This not only helped them find more abundant food sources, but also allowed them to access new prey, especially dinosaurs that often congregated in coastal wetlands. Deinosuchus used its body weight to perfectly camouflage itself under the mud or the still waters. Its favorite targets were duck-billed dinosaurs like Hadrosauridae or horned dinosaurs like Centrosaurus when they bent down to drink. It would launch forward with a devastating bite, then use the death roll, a powerful spinning motion underwater, to tear apart and drown its victim. Furthermore, many people wonder if Deinosuchus actually hunted dinosaurs. Archaeological evidence has confirmed this. The clearest evidence comes from deep bite marks found on the bones of duck-billed dinosaurs and even some theropods such as Appalachiosaurus. For prey with hard shells like bothromitid sea turtles, Deinosuchus used its biting force to crush the shell instantly, leaving the prey with no chance of escape. Deinosuchus did not live entirely in the water. With its heavy armored back covered in thick bony plates, it was capable of moving quite well on land, though not as quickly as theropod dinosaurs. This made it a true predator that could walk and dominate both riverbanks and wet lowland environments. In many parts of late Cretaceous North America, Deinosuchus stood at the top of the food chain, turning riverbanks into death zones. In eastern Appalachia, there were hardly any theropods larger than it. Many scientists believe that the presence of this terrible crocodile may have prevented predatory dinosaurs in that region from evolving to much larger sizes. But then, around 73 million years ago, Deinosuchus suddenly disappeared from the fossil record without leaving any clear trace. What makes this especially strange is that, at that time, many other large animals continued to survive normally. So why did such a powerful species become extinct? While there is no definitive conclusion, researchers believe that sudden climate change, the loss of its characteristic habitat, and the disappearance of its primary prey species pushed Deinosuchus to its demise. To this day, scientists still have not found an exact answer as to why this giant vanished and gave way to other dominant predators. And that is exactly why today's video carries the title, "Was the largest carnivorous animal of the Cretaceous period really not a dinosaur?" Although the Cretaceous is often remembered for famous names like T-Rex or Spinosaurus, Deinosuchus proved a fascinating truth. Crocodile-like reptiles could also reach enormous sizes and dominant power. They were fully capable of hunting, overpowering, and even eating some of the largest dinosaurs. If Deinosuchus was the terror of rivers and estuaries, then far out at sea, the laws were infinitely more ruthless. There was no land to flee to, and gravity was no longer a shackle. The Cretaceous period was not only filled with roars on land. When we think of the largest predators, we usually imagine T-Rex or Spinosaurus. But the truth is, even these kings had one limit they could never overcome: gravity. But beneath the water, all those rules were shattered. While T-Rex stopped at around 40 feet in length, the ocean was home to a monster stretching nearly 36 to 43 feet long, Mosasaurus. Without the burden of gravity crushing its leg joints, this giant marine lizard used the buoyancy of water to push its body mass far beyond what land predators could achieve, making even the giants of the land seem small in a single comparison frame. And the most fascinating part? Mosasaurus was not a dinosaur at all. Despite its enormous size as a true super predator, the blood running through its veins was actually closely related to modern snakes and lizards. Science sees this as a reverse invasion, a small land reptile that returned to the sea and evolved to the extreme, becoming an outsider that came to dominate an entire era. What made it a true nightmare was the extra row of pterygoid teeth on the roof of its mouth. Unlike the simple tearing bite of dinosaurs, Mosasaurus possessed a second row of teeth that worked like a conveyor belt of death, locking prey tightly in place and pulling it deeper into the throat with almost no chance of escape. Combined with its incredibly flexible jaws similar to a snake, it could swallow prey much larger than its own head. With a powerful shark-like tail for explosive speed and unmatched maneuverability underwater, Mosasaurus did not just hunt fish, it hunted almost everything in the sea. Large fish, ammonites, sea turtles, sharks, and even other marine reptiles such as smaller mosasaurs and plesiosaurs all became its prey. The true crown of the Cretaceous, it turns out, was not on land, but hidden beneath the deep waters. If Mosasaurus used the power of water to achieve its enormous size, then at the other extreme, there was a creature that defied gravity by lifting its massive, airplane-sized body into the air. When you looked up at the sky, the place that seemed like the only possible escape, you would realize you were wrong. A gigantic, dark shadow, large enough to cover everything beneath it, was descending. That was Quetzalcoatlus. Living during the late Cretaceous, around 72 to 66 million years ago, this giant flying reptile redefined the very concept of freedom. With a wingspan of up to 36 feet, it is officially recognized as the largest flying animal ever to exist on Earth. When standing on the ground, it towered nearly as tall as a modern giraffe. To achieve this, Quetzalcoatlus relied on its ultralight, hollow bone structure filled with air sacs and reinforced by powerful tendons. Despite its enormous size, it was surprisingly light, between 440 and 550 pounds, allowing it to take off with a powerful leap and glide hundreds of miles through warm air currents. Unlike many other pterosaurs that spent their time skimming over water for fish, Quetzalcoatlus was a formidable terrestrial hunter. It moved efficiently on all fours when on the ground, stalking through wetlands like a gigantic prehistoric stork. With its long, toothless, spear-like beak, it could swiftly stab and snatch up small to medium-sized prey, including young dinosaurs, lizards, and small mammals. It was the ultimate proof of a new world order. The Cretaceous was truly the age of giant reptiles, where dinosaurs were surrounded on every front. From the rivers and swamps ruled by Deinosuchus, the deep oceans dominated by Mosasaurus, to the skies and lowlands controlled by Quetzalcoatlus, giant reptiles had truly taken over every realm of the world. They were the non-dinosaur titans that proved, to be a monster in the age of dinosaurs, you didn't necessarily have to be one of them. In summary, the Cretaceous was far more than just the age of dinosaurs. It was a world where Deinosuchus owned the rivers, Mosasaurus ruled the abyss, and Quetzalcoatlus haunted the skies. The answer to our mystery is clear. Many of the most terrifying apex predators of that era were not dinosaurs at all, but extraordinary reptiles that broke every limit of nature to dominate land, sea, and air. They proved that in the prehistoric world, greatness wasn't just about walking on two legs. It was about conquering environments where others couldn't survive. If you enjoyed discovering these non-dinosaur titans, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to our channel. Turn on the notification bell so you won't miss our next journey back to the Age of Monsters. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next one. Subscribe to the channel to discover interesting facts behind the Cretaceous period.